She was the only female mechanic in the area, and although life was tough, she found comfort in fixing engines and the rhythm of her routine. Customers came and went, many doubting her skills until they saw her work, but Maya never complained. She lived in a tiny apartment behind the garage, worked long hours, and only dreamed of a life beyond oil stains and wrenches. Meanwhile, Adrian, a young billionaire known for his lavish lifestyle and luxury cars, had just acquired a vintage sports car from an auction. The engine had issues, and every fancy repair shop he visited quoted him astronomical prices without understanding the car's sentimental value to him. Frustrated and tired of superficial conversations with socialites, he decided to take a drive away from the city buzz, hoping for clarity, and maybe a miracle. His miracle came when the car broke down right in front of Maya's garage. Adrian stepped out, his expensive shoes crunching against gravel, and looked around. He expected a middle-aged man with a rough beard, not a beautiful young woman with sparkling eyes and grease on her cheek. She walked toward him confidently and said, "You broke down. I can fix it." Adrian was skeptical but curious. He raised an eyebrow. "You?" he asked, glancing at her small frame and dirt-smeared hands. Maya smirked. "Unless you want to push it yourself," she teased. Adrian hesitated for a moment but then nodded, intrigued by her boldness. He watched as she dove under the hood, working with precision and speed he hadn't seen before. Within minutes, the engine purred to life again. Maya dusted herself off and handed him the bill, modest and honest. Adrian was stunned. "This is too little," he said, offering her a wad of cash. She shook her head firmly. "I charge what's fair, not what you can afford." For the first time in a long while, someone looked past his wealth and status. Adrian was amused and oddly impressed. He asked for her name. She answered, "Maya. I run this place alone." Driving away, Adrian kept glancing at his rearview mirror. There was something about her, natural, unbothered by his riches, and incredibly beautiful. She had shifted something inside him. The smell of motor oil still lingered in his car, and for once, he didn't mind it. Adrian found himself returning a week later, this time with no car trouble. He claimed he wanted to tune the engine, but Maya could tell he was making excuses. "You could go to 10 better garages," she said playfully. "Why come here?" Adrian smiled. "They don't serve good conversation," he replied. Maya laughed for the first time that day. It was a sound he didn't realize he had missed. They started talking more. Maya shared bits about her life, how she lost her parents young, how she dropped out of school to work, and how the garage was all she had. Adrian, in turn, didn't talk about money or business. Instead, he shared stories about travel, childhood dreams, and things that made him human, not just rich. Every visit, the walls between them crumbled a little more. Adrian began bringing her lunch. Sometimes he stayed for hours, watching her work and chatting in between. The townspeople started whispering, but Maya ignored them. She wasn't foolish. She knew rich boys liked thrills, and she didn't want to be one. But deep down, something was changing, softly and undeniably. One evening, Adrian invited Maya to dinner. "Not fancy, I promise," he said. She hesitated, unsure of stepping into his world. But when he arrived at the garage with burgers and fries in a brown bag, and they ate under the stars sitting on old tires, she relaxed. He kept things simple, just the way she liked it. They laughed until it hurt. Maya told him stories about ridiculous customers, and Adrian mimicked high society parties that bored him to death. "You're different," she said. "And you're real," he replied. It was the first time they both admitted something was building between them. By the end of the night, Adrian leaned in, slowly, giving her enough time to pull away. But she didn't. Their lips met briefly, just a whisper of a kiss, but it left Maya dizzy. She stared at him, unsure. "I don't know what you want from me," she whispered. Adrian simply replied, "Time." Maya tried to focus the next day, but her hands trembled every time she touched a wrench. Adrian had unlocked something in her she had hidden away, hope. But hope scared her. She couldn't afford to fall for someone like him, someone who belonged to penthouses and private jets. Meanwhile, Adrian had a dilemma. His family had arranged a grand engagement party with a woman he barely knew, the daughter of one of his father's business partners. It was all for show, a merger in disguise. But Adrian no longer cared about impressing anyone. His heart was elsewhere. He called Maya and said, "I need you to come with me to something." She refused instantly, but he begged. "Just stand by me," he said. "I need someone real in the room." Reluctantly, she agreed. What she didn't know was that the event would change everything. Adrian arrived at the garage with a dress in a simple black box. "Don't think it's a Cinderella thing," he said quickly. "I just didn't want them looking down on you." Maya opened the box, saw the sleek, elegant gown inside, and blinked. "It's beautiful," she said softly. That night, for the first time in years, she saw herself in the mirror and smiled. When they entered the ballroom, conversations halted. All eyes turned to Maya. She looked nothing like the girl from the garage. Adrian held her hand tightly, refusing to let go. His parents stared in shock, and the other woman, his supposed fiancée, scowled in disbelief. Whispers filled the room. But Adrian didn't care. He leaned close to Maya and whispered, "You're the most stunning woman here." She blushed. And for a moment, they were the only two people in the world. Adrian's mother cornered him shortly after. "Who is she?" she demanded. "She's someone I care about," Adrian replied. "She's not from our world," his mother hissed. "Then maybe I don't want this world anymore," he snapped back. Maya overheard, heart pounding. She didn't want to cause problems, but she also didn't want to walk away. Back at the garage, Maya told Adrian, "This is too much. I can't breathe in your world. I don't fit in." But Adrian pulled her close. "You fit where I am. That's all that matters." She wanted to believe him, but deep down, the fear of losing herself was loud. The next day, she didn't open the garage. She needed time to think. Adrian waited outside, flowers in hand, all day. She watched him from the window. No man had ever waited like that before. That night, she opened the door. Maya stepped outside quietly, arms folded. Adrian looked up from where he sat on the hood of his car. "I thought you'd never come out," he said with a tired smile. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because I see a future with you," he replied. "One that isn't made of marble floors and chandeliers, but oil stains and real love." She was silent for a moment. Then she said, "If you stay with me, you'll lose a lot. Your name, your connections, maybe even your family." Adrian stood and took her hands. "But I'll gain something more valuable, peace." Maya's throat tightened. The way he looked at her, like she was enough, was something she hadn't experienced before. That night, they sat by the garage, sharing stories, dreams, and quiet glances. The air was soft with promise. They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. Their hearts had already met in the middle. Maya became the talk of the town. People stared when she walked by, some with envy, others with malice. Rumors spread, some said she trapped Adrian, others claimed it was just a fling. She ignored them all, but inside, the weight of judgment grew heavier each day. Adrian noticed her growing quiet and distant. One day, he surprised her with a pair of gloves and said, "Let's fix an engine together." Maya laughed as he fumbled with tools, getting his hands dirty. "You're terrible at this," she teased. "But I'm learning from the best," he said with a wink. They spent the day covered in grease and joy. It reminded Maya that what they had wasn't built on money or appearances, but moments like this. For once, she let go of the fear and just held his hand, without thinking of what the world would say. One evening, Adrian's ex, Nina, appeared at the garage in a sleek black car. She stepped out in heels, sunglasses, and attitude. "So this is where he hides," she said, looking Maya up and down. Maya wiped her hands calmly. "He's not hiding. He's here because he wants to be." Nina scoffed. "Don't get comfortable. This won't last. He gets bored easily." Maya didn't flinch. "I'm not here to impress anyone. If he wants to leave, he knows where the door is." Adrian walked out just in time to hear that. "Nina, leave," he said firmly. "This isn't your business anymore." Maya turned to Adrian after she left. "Why did you never tell me about her?" Adrian sighed. "Because she's part of a past I'm not proud of. You're my present. You're what's real." Maya nodded slowly. But the doubt had already crept in, even if just a little. Adrian decided it was time Maya saw where he came from. He took her to his family estate, not as a visitor, but as someone who mattered. She walked into the grand hall, completely out of place in her jeans and boots, yet somehow, she held herself with more grace than anyone there. His father barely looked at her. "Is this your rebellion?" he asked coldly. "No," Adrian replied. "She's my choice." Maya stayed silent, observing everything. She could feel their disapproval like heavy perfume in the air. But she didn't shrink. She stood taller. After the awkward dinner, Adrian drove her back. "I'm sorry you had to see that," he said. Maya touched his arm. "Don't apologize for them. I'm not ashamed of where I come from. You shouldn't be either." That night, he kissed her forehead gently and whispered, "I want forever with you." Days turned into weeks. Their bond grew stronger, despite the noise around them. Adrian began spending more nights at the small garage apartment, loving the simplicity Maya offered. She cooked for him, laughed with him, and gave him a piece he never knew he needed. One day, he brought her a small box. Inside was a key to a place I bought for us. Nothing fancy, but it has a garden, and space for a workshop if you want. Maya was speechless. "Are you asking me to move in?" He nodded. "Yes. With me. Forever." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she wiped them quickly. "I'll think about it," she teased, but her smile said yes. And just like that, their story started turning into something real, no longer a daydream, but a shared life in motion. They moved into the new house. It had chipped walls, creaky floors, and a view of the sky that felt endless. Maya planted flowers. Adrian built her a corner to fix engines. They made their own little world away from gold-plated gates and velvet curtains. But happiness didn't mean absence of challenges. Adrian's business partners started questioning his decisions. "You've changed," one of them said. "You're distracted." Adrian smiled. "No. I'm finally focused on what matters." That response didn't sit well with many. Meanwhile, Maya struggled with insecurities. The media began taking notice. Paparazzi stalked their street. Headlines read, "Billionaire dates Grease girl." Maya pretended not to care, but every word stung. Still, she stayed strong, for both of them. Adrian tried to shield her, but the pressure was building. One afternoon, Maya found a magazine tossed at their doorstep. On the cover was a picture of her bending over a car, with the caption, "From hood to mansion, what is her secret?" She stared at it, frozen. Adrian came home to find her packing. "I can't live like this," she said, tears in her eyes. "They're turning me into a joke." Adrian dropped to his knees. "Don't let them win. You're not a joke. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." She sat down slowly, the bag still half-zipped. "Then help me fight it," she whispered. "I can't do this alone." Adrian held her face gently. "You'll never have to." And just like that, their love found new strength in the middle of fear and fire. Maya didn't run. Instead, she faced the world head-on, with Adrian by her side. They turned off the news, stopped reading gossip blogs, and focused on their work. Maya poured herself into fixing cars, while Adrian started a new project, building affordable auto repair spaces for small-town mechanics. One evening, Maya walked into the kitchen and found Adrian cooking, badly. "You call that soup?" she teased. "It's an experiment," he defended. "You're the only woman I've ever tried this hard for." Maya smiled. "And I'm the only woman who'll still eat it." Their laughter filled the room. Despite everything outside their walls, the love inside kept growing. It wasn't loud or flashy, but it was real. And for Maya, that was all she had ever wanted. Not everyone was rooting for them. One of Adrian's closest business partners, Colin, came over uninvited. "You're ruining everything," he snapped. "We had plans. Deals. A path." Adrian leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "Plans that didn't include me being happy." Colin looked at Maya, who stood in the doorway. This is your new empire?" Maya stepped forward. "No. This is his peace. And peace doesn't need permission." Colin left, fuming. But his words stuck. Doubts began circling in Adrian's mind. Later that night, Adrian lay awake, wondering if he was being selfish. But then Maya rolled over in her sleep and laid her hand on his chest. In that small moment, all his questions faded. She was his answer. Every time. Maya's old neighborhood hadn't forgotten her. One day, she returned with Adrian to visit her childhood garage. Kids surrounded her, eyes wide with wonder. "You really married the billionaire?" they asked. Maya chuckled. "No, I just stole his heart." Inside, the old owner, Uncle Greg, hugged her tightly. "You still got grease in your nails," he joked. Adrian watched her shine in her element, chatting with customers, lifting hoods, laughing with people. It reminded him why he'd fallen for her in the first place. That night, Maya whispered, "Thank you for never making me feel less." Adrian replied, "You've always been more." And in the silence that followed, their hearts beat in perfect rhythm, mechanic and billionaire, finally home. Things changed when Adrian's mother showed up unannounced. She stood at the door in a tailored dress, holding her designer purse like a shield. "May I come in?" she asked stiffly. Maya nodded, trying to hide her nerves. They sat in awkward silence for a while until the older woman said, "I didn't come to fight. I came to understand." Maya poured her some tea and replied softly, "Then let's start there." For the first time, walls began to lower. By the time she left, Adrian's mother had tears in her eyes. "He smiles differently now," she said. "I didn't understand what love could look like outside our world. But maybe I was wrong." Maya didn't need her approval, but it felt good to finally have it. Maya started teaching young girls in her area about car mechanics. Every Saturday, the garage was filled with laughter, oil stains, and dreams. Adrian loved watching her in action, her hands covered in grease but her heart wide open. One day, a girl asked, "Did you always know you'd marry a billionaire?" Maya laughed. "I didn't even know I'd own 2 pairs of shoes." They giggled together, and Adrian's heart melted from afar. That evening, he pulled her close. "You're changing lives without even trying." Maya kissed his cheek. "I don't want to change the world, Adrian. Just make my corner of it a little better." And with that, they danced in the garage to music only they could hear. But peace never lasts forever. Adrian was offered the biggest deal of his career, on one condition: relocate abroad and leave everything behind. That meant leaving Maya's world. Her garage. Her community. Everything they'd built. He told Maya about it with hesitation. "It's tempting," he admitted. "But I won't go if you don't want me to." Maya was silent for a moment. "I don't want to be the reason you give up your dreams." Adrian held her hand. "You're not a reason. You're the dream." In the end, they decided together. The answer wasn't in running to something bigger, but growing what they already had. Adrian turned down the deal. The world thought he was crazy. But love had already taught him what true wealth meant. Maya decided to upgrade her garage. Adrian helped, but insisted she still run it her way. She hired a small team, added more tools, and turned the space into something both professional and homey. People from all over started coming just to see the billionaire's mechanic. Still, she made time for her early customers, the ones who believed in her when she was just a girl with a wrench. One of them, Mrs. Clara, gave her a tiny silver pendant. "To protect your heart," she said. "Because it's rare." Maya wore it every day. Not because it sparkled, but because it reminded her of where she started. And the love that found her in the most unexpected place. Adrian surprised Maya with a small party at the garage. Just a few close friends, some music, and her favorite greasy snacks. "To the woman who taught me how to love with my hands, not my wallet," he toasted. Everyone cheered. Maya laughed, eyes glistening. "To the man who couldn't fix a tire but fixed my heart anyway," she replied. The room roared with laughter. It wasn't fancy, but it was perfect. As they slow danced in the middle of oil stains and laughter, Maya whispered, "This is the kind of love I used to dream about." Adrian smiled. "And this is the kind I never knew existed." Their bond deepened in quiet ways. Sunday mornings spent in bed. Late nights fixing engines together. Secret glances over dinner. They were no longer from two different worlds, they had built their own. But one day, Maya noticed Adrian looked troubled. He confessed that some of his businesses were being slowly pulled away by old partners. "They're punishing me for choosing you," he said. Maya stood firm. "Then let's build our own legacy. From scratch." That was the moment they became unstoppable, not just as lovers, but as partners. And for the first time, Adrian didn't feel like he was losing anything. He was finally gaining everything. Maya and Adrian decided to start something new, together. They launched a project that merged both their passions, a high-end, fully equipped mechanic training hub for underprivileged youth. Maya designed the space, while Adrian handled the logistics. It wasn't about charity, it was about opportunity. And because they kept it simple and honest, people trusted it. The first class of trainees came in unsure, but left confident, thanks to Maya's rough yet gentle way of teaching. "It's okay to get dirty," she'd say, "that's how you learn." Adrian watched her with admiration. He wasn't the billionaire in that room, she was the star. And he loved her more for it. Each day she inspired him to be better, not richer. And that was the most valuable investment he'd ever made. Life seemed smooth until Maya started feeling dizzy. At first, she thought it was exhaustion. But when she fainted in the garage one afternoon, Adrian rushed her to the doctor. After a series of tests, the doctor walked in with a grin. "Congratulations. She's pregnant." Maya stared, stunned. "Pregnant?" Adrian's eyes widened. We're having a baby?" They both laughed, half in joy, half in disbelief. The garage echoed with celebration that night, as the whole neighborhood joined in to toast the unexpected news. Adrian couldn't stop smiling. "You're about to become the hottest mechanic mom in the world." Maya smacked his arm, laughing. "Just don't expect me to stop fixing cars. I'll be under the hood with a bump." And she meant it. Pregnancy didn't slow Maya down, it made her fiercer. She continued working, teaching, and laughing through the months. Adrian hovered around her, protective, but she'd always wave him off. "I'm carrying a baby, not glassware." They decorated a small room in their home, not with gold and marble, but with hand-painted clouds and wooden shelves. Adrian tried to build a crib himself, it wobbled horribly. Maya laughed, "Let's just buy one before this baby rolls out." They spent quiet nights talking about the future. Not about profits or expansion, but about bedtime stories, school runs, and little greasy overalls. For the first time, love had formed into something they could touch, feel, and eventually hold. One rainy night, Maya went into labor. The power went out, the streets were flooded, and everything felt chaotic. Adrian panicked, but Maya? She stayed calm. "We've fixed engines in worse conditions," she whispered through the pain. "We've got this." After hours of struggle and sweat, cries filled the room. Adrian held his daughter in shaking hands. "She's perfect," he whispered. Maya, exhausted, smiled weakly. "She's got your stubborn eyes." They named her Isla, meaning light in the dark. From that day forward, everything shifted. Adrian wasn't just a billionaire. Maya wasn't just a mechanic. They were parents. And somehow, that felt more powerful than anything money could buy. Isla grew up in the garage. She took her first steps next to a hydraulic lift. Her first word was wheel. Adrian would read her bedtime stories, while Maya sang lullabies from under car hoods. Their life wasn't conventional, but it was theirs. The community adored them. Customers came in not just to fix their cars, but to see the famous love story in real life. They were inspired by the woman who proved you could be both strong and soft, and the man who walked away from everything, only to gain even more. One evening, as the sun set behind the garage, Adrian turned to Maya and said, "I never imagined I'd be this happy, covered in oil, chasing a toddler, with you by my side." Maya smirked. "Told you falling for a mechanic would change your life." But every love story faces its test. A powerful investor approached Adrian with another offer. This time, they didn't ask him to leave Maya, but they did want full control of the mechanic project. "Let us own it. You'll still get the credit," they said. Adrian didn't even hesitate. "It's not mine to sell. This is Maya's soul. Her work. Her dream." When Maya found out, she didn't cry, she just hugged him tightly. "That's the real wealth I married. Not what's in your bank account, but what's in your heart." That decision made headlines again. Billionaire chooses love over legacy. But to Maya and Adrian, it wasn't news. It was just another Tuesday, choosing each other, again and again. Years passed. Isla started learning how to use tools. "Just like Mama," she'd say proudly. Maya taught her how to check oil, how to listen to the hum of an engine. Adrian taught her how to dream bigger, while staying grounded in kindness. One day, Isla asked, "Mama, how did you and Daddy fall in love?" Maya smiled. "He brought me a car with a broken heart, and I fixed it." Adrian added, "And then she fixed mine too." Isla giggled, not fully understanding, but knowing she was surrounded by magic. And indeed, theirs was magic. The kind that grows quietly. That doesn't shout, but stays strong. That starts in grease and ends in gold, not the kind you wear, but the kind you feel every time someone chooses love. As Isla grew, so did the legacy they had built. Maya's training center expanded, now with dozens of students and female mechanics who credited her for changing their lives. Adrian supported from the background, proud to be her #1 cheerleader. One day, an award committee came to honor Maya. "Best Community Engineer of the Year," they said. She accepted with her usual grace. "It's not about being the best," she told the crowd, "it's about loving what you do, and who you do it with." The applause was loud, but what mattered most was Adrian's whisper afterward, "I've never been prouder." She smiled. "Even with all the grease on my face?" He kissed her forehead. "Especially with the grease." They took a rare vacation, just the three of them. On a quiet beach, Isla built sandcastles while Adrian and Maya sat beneath an umbrella. "Do you ever miss it?" Maya asked. "The suits, the fast life, the skyscrapers?" Adrian looked at her. "Not for a second. I traded skyscrapers for stars. Traffic for laughter. Deadlines for diaper changes." Maya laughed. "Sounds like a good deal." He nodded. "The best one I've ever made." As waves crashed and their daughter's laughter filled the air, they both realized this was everything they'd ever wanted. Not fancy events. Not money. Just this love, this peace, and the journey that brought them here. One evening, Isla asked her dad, "Are you still rich?" Adrian smiled. "What do you think?" She thought for a moment. "I think you are. Because Mama loves you. And we have each other." Maya overheard and her eyes welled up. It wasn't the kind of richness they measured in numbers, but in hugs, meals shared, engines fixed, and nights spent dancing in the living room. Years ago, Maya had been a girl with rough hands and a brave heart. And Adrian had been a man with wealth but no peace. Together, they built a world no one expected, but everyone admired. As Maya watched Isla fix her first car without help, she felt something deep inside: pride, yes, but more than that. Legacy. Love passed down through grease and gears. Adrian brought her flowers that day. "For being the queen of everything," he said. She chuckled. "You still trying to win me over?" He grinned. "Every single day." They kissed, not with fireworks, but with warmth. With the love that comes after trials, tantrums, and tire changes. They weren't perfect. But they were real. And that, in their story, was always more than enough. Maya stood at the front of her now expanded garage, looking at the glowing sign above: Isla's Garage, founded in love. Beside her stood her daughter, now a teen, and Adrian, her forever partner. From the first flat tire to this very moment, their journey had been anything but predictable. But it had been beautiful. Filled with grease, grit, and genuine love. Billionaire meets Mechanic was just the beginning. What followed was a masterpiece. And so, as the sun dipped below the skyline, Maya turned to Adrian, smiling. "We really did it, huh?" He kissed her knuckles and whispered, "We sure did. And I'd choose you again. Every time."